Hi, it's Leanne Clune from Live Legacy Now. We're about to watch another episode of the Online Prosperity Show where we're talking about you living your legacy now, stabilizing your finances, moving into your purpose, and creating the life that you've always wanted to live.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Tadovinga, and today we have a guest who's not only helping entrepreneurs unlock financial freedom, but is also helping them build a life that they actually love. Now, Leanne, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, Prosper. I'm so excited to be on your show. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, the pleasure is all mine. But before we get really excited about what we're going to talk about, have you got any disclaimers that you want to sprinkle onto the show before?
Of course, I'm a wealth strategist. I love disclaimers. So, actually, tonight, what I'm going to be talking about is general advice. Please get specific, tailored advice to your situation. I'm going to be giving overviews of some case studies of what I've done for myself and my client, but that doesn't mean that it's right for you. You have to take into everyone's situation is unique, and as a wealth strategist, I take the time to get to know all of my clients and their entire situation before providing advice. So it's general advice only, and then you get specific advice after.
Absolutely. Now that we've got the legalese out of the way, we can boogie. I'm excited about
Yeah.
it. So obviously joining us today is an incredible Leanne Clune, a wealth strategist and business and legacy coach who has helped hundreds of clients create sustainable long-term financial success. And Leanne's journey from, actually, you're not going to believe this, she was a marine biologist to now transforming lives through financial coaching is as inspiring as it is unique. Now, obviously, Leanne, before we dive deep, we've done the legalese, and I know we're going to be jumping into an amazing story. I just got to ask you, how did you manage to calmly swim to shore when a herd of tiger sharks was actually coming your way? I mean, that takes either nerves of steel or just a dash of what was I even thinking about in that moment. So
Yeah, I think that's funny, Prosper. Thanks for asking that one. Now, I think that it was my 20-year-old self that was fearless. And the local said, we were in the ocean in far north Queensland, and a local said, tiger sharks, and the local wasn't stressed either. The local just calmly said, tiger sharks, and there was a group of us marine biologists, and we just went, okay, and we just swam out. I think about it now, and I think if that was my children and they were telling me that story, I'd have a completely different reaction.
fantastic. I mean, obviously wrestling with tiger sharks and the wild out there. Now you're wrestling with actual
Numbers.
tigers and sharks in the financial world. Well, tell us a little bit about your transition, because obviously you swimming with those tiger sharks was you being a marine biologist to
Yeah.
you moved from that to finance,
Yeah.
and that's quite
Yeah.
a career leap.
Absolutely. So I guess what happened, and look, it's probably something that a lot of the listeners can identify with, Prosper. And, you've probably heard it many times before, as I have. It's a very common story. When I was at school, I was very academic, very, very academic, very high marks in maths and science. And I got steered, Prosper, into university. I was only 17. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I felt like that was a really stressful and hard decision to try and make at that point in my life. being so young. And so I decided to do a science degree because I was good at science. And this happens to a lot of us. It happens to so many of us. And I finished my degree, I graduated, and I got a job as a graduate in the government department of natural resource management. Now, in all intents and purposes, this is the perfect job for a science graduate. It's what you've worked for 4 years. And to put it into context, a lot of my friends graduated and they got a job that they didn't even need a degree for at the time. So they said to me, "You're so lucky, Leanne. You're so lucky. You've got this amazing job, subsidized housing, a car, travel allowance, pay, Prosper, pay after being a uni student."
Yeah, that.
Hooray!
Congratulations. Right.
I actually was in the cash. And but I was waking up, I was dragging myself out of bed. I had no energy. I was counting down the hours in the office. This was not a hard job, Prosper. And I'm sure, as I said before, many people listening can relate.
Mm.
I was counting down the hours. I was anxious. I was picking fights before I had to go to work with my husband at the time. And I just generally was stressed and unfulfilled. Now, everyone was telling me, "What is wrong with you? You've got everything, Leanne. You've got the dream."
Yeah.
So I felt something was wrong with me. And it took me on a real journey. And I kept pushing because that's what we do, right? I thought, I have done 4 years of university to get this job, so it's got to get better. But I didn't get better because I wasn't in alignment with this work, no matter what I tried to tell myself. And what happened was, in 2003, with absolutely no warning, no prior illness, nothing, my father passed away. And it was instantaneous. There was no chance to say goodbye. There was no chance for any of us to have our last goodbyes. Nothing. It was literally, my dad passed away in less than 1 minute, we were told. So he was actually in a work tractor and there was a CB radio in the tractor and he didn't even reach for it. So it was instant. Now, I was 27 at the time, Prosper. I didn't even realize that this could happen, unless it was a car accident or something, of course. But I didn't even realize that our life is that, it can be that fragile. And this changed my whole trajectory because my dad was a very happy, joyous, fulfilled man. And an amazing thing that I have is that I know he had no regrets. I mean, obviously, he would have loved to have more time with us all. He was 53 years young. And I felt robbed. I felt robbed of time with him. But I knew that my dad had it worked out. So I learnt that the hard way. He never stressed. He was always happy. He was joking around. I grew up in an incredible household where Dad would have us belly laughing every night over the dinner table. He would be storytelling. Stories about his work, about his workmates. We we rarely went to his work and met these people, but we felt like we knew them from Dad's nightly storytelling events. And they were always hilarious. So
Absolutely.
I started to think, I know I need to escape this corporate job. I know I need to escape because do you know what? All I just wanted to be happy. I wasn't happy. And work takes up so much of our time that if you are not fulfilled and aligned with your work, that is a huge issue in your life. You got big problems. So I
Wow.
started studying, and I've always been good at finances. I've always been really good at numbers and working out, reverse engineering and working out, oh, we need this much money if we want to do this. And I decided that I wanted to start a finance business. And so I started my reverse engineering. It just comes naturally to me. I've always been a bit of a nerd. the maths, the maths is very strong with me. And so my husband at the time and I, we had a business loan and the repayments were quite high. And this was keeping me stuck in thinking that I needed the paycheck.
Oh, the job. Yeah.
But it's really an illusion. It really is. This is before we had children. I escaped early, right? I did. And I reverse engineered. This is how my whole finance company started. And I reduced the repayments on our business loan by 85%.
Whoa.
And because I just naturally do this, Prosper, I didn't think
The
much of
bank
it.
must not like you.
Yeah. I just naturally do it and I didn't think much of it. And I talked to a few people. They said, Leanne, that is phenomenal. And that allowed me to transition from the paid job, getting paid every fortnight, that has freed up the cash flow enough that I could transition into my own business. So it was a huge, huge undertaking to be able to do that. It allowed my fear to be under control, I would say.
Oh, if you don't have to pay 85% back, you wake up a different person. You
Yeah,
wake up with a smile.
you feel safe. You feel safe. I felt safe. I looked at obviously I worked it all out. I thought, we can do this. And that was 20 years ago.
Fantastic. You know what I just learned from all of this? I mean, it doesn't matter, no matter who you are, no matter what it is that you're going through, just pay attention to what's going on around because one day you'll have a good story to tell. And if it's not on the online prosperity show, I don't know where else. But now, Leanne, let's just backtrack a little bit. And thank you so much for, just giving us all that glimpse into your world. And sorry to hear about that, but we'll get
Yeah,
to that part. So
sure.
I mean, obviously, for lack of a better statement, fish do not see the water that they swim in. I mean, I don't know if that's different with marine biologists, but neither can people see the
Yeah.
air that they breathe. Now,
Mm.
you brought up something that is a very big issue with a lot of people. We are meant to do what society has lined up for us, whether it's
Yeah.
school, parents, or whatever expectations that they have
Mm.
on us. How much of a detriment is it for people's success just following through and doing just what people expect or what is given to you, just like you had with you ending up being a marine biologist?
Mm. What I noticed walking into the corporate environment every day, was probably about 90% of the workers there had resigned themselves that was it. And they were in mortgages, they were in debts for whatever situation they had going on in their life. They were living up to the income that they were receiving, and they were stuck, Prosper. And, you know, I could see that their light had dimmed and they were just going through the motions and they couldn't see a way out. They were stuck. And I felt that in my heart, and it made my heart really heavy seeing these people. And it was also one of those reasons why I went, I can't do that. I can't live my life like this, because I know they say you don't get long, life's short. But when something happens to you, like what happened to me with my dad, completely unexpected, completely shattered my view of the world and my blueprint that I had in my head for my future, you realize life can be very fragile. And I was thinking, maybe I'm only going to have 53 years. Well, I'm going to make the most of them. If that's my fate, I'm going to make the most of them.
Now, well, with the way that you've been going, you've escaped shocks. You have now gone into work that you absolutely love. So there's maybe a couple of years in there somewhere, you know. So, so
Escape shots, yeah.
there's this thing, obviously, that you're talking about where obviously society automatically gives or relegates you to certain things, and a lot of people just are submissive to that. But in your instance, this sort of happened at a very young age when you were about, I think, when you're trying to figure out what the next logical step would be. Would you think, had you met somebody like yourself who would have then maybe given you some sort of advice, you would have maybe turned out a little bit different in the choices that you would have made?
Oh, if I had have had that advice even sooner. So I was probably stuck for about 5 years.
Mm.
It's not that long, really, in the scheme of things.
Yeah, yeah.
It felt like an eternity. It did. But if I had have had someone come along and give me a roadmap, an escape plan that made me feel safe, that I resonated with, then I would have jumped sooner. And if
No,
they had have explained what was going on, I didn't understand at that stage, Prosper, all about the subconscious processes that were going on and the self-sabotage and how we hold ourselves back. It's a huge one. We hold ourselves back.
Mm, and now this is now becoming apparent and very clear to me why you've decided to be the one that is spearheading this. Because had this been, available to you, obviously the decisions you would have made would have been at least completely different. But with being a marine biologist, you get to go and enjoy the barrier reef. Would you say the whole going underwater and everything else would have been an escape as well without you realizing that was happening at that time?
Oh, look, I love the outdoors. I love nature. I love science. I still have a deep love of science. I'm in the ocean every chance I can get. So I don't regret doing the marine biology. I don't. And it did actually come in to help me years later in the finance, because I needed an undergraduate degree and it didn't matter in what discipline. So it did help me in certain aspects, and it definitely helped me be able to research it honed my research skills having that degree. So it did give me an edge.
Mm.
But yeah, it was a lot of self-realization of I was lost. I didn't know what my purpose was then. Now, not many of us do. It's a very common scenario, and I'm sure the listeners can relate. And I'd love to hear their stories. I'd love to hear, comment on the replay. I'd love to hear it. Love to hear your stories.
Everybody's going to be engaged in this because you're really taking us on a journey. And what I'm really trying to bring out is the fact that so many people, like you said, are going through this, and yet, like we have established, had you figured this out a little bit earlier, or had somebody like yourself come around and tell you a little bit of what could have been, things would have been a lot different. Now they have an opportunity to, get in touch with you and things of that nature. So I can't imagine there's going to be a lot of comments on this one, Leanne. Don't you worry about that. Now let's turn to the part where life changed for you, because in all of this, yes, this is something that happens to each and every one of us, but some people are also going through certain things in their life, and some may not, but we all went through a universal hardship in the form of the pandemic, which
Mm,
literally sort of evened the playing field for a lot of people, and you know
mm.
what I mean. So you made a comeback from that. You made a comeback, and you actually used that as a way to grow and learn and things of that nature. What sort of advice would you give to people that are maybe, yeah, like you say, no longer really looking into helping themselves and just thinking it is what it is, or as the Aussies say, should be all right?
Yeah, it's what is the most crucial thing to do is what I've learned is to click back into your joy and what gives you joy and your purpose. We find through that we find our purpose. Now at Live Legacy, now we do have a trademark process where we take people back into their childhood and we uncover their purpose. And it's a very unique, it's not out there process. We're the only ones that are doing it. And it absolutely changes people like that. So if you can, and people just get it, they seem to just get it, and they go, oh, we forget because we're just being conditioned for so long. And some people have been going along for 20 years. They forget where their spark went. They forget prosper. It's tragic
Mm.
because they're not really living. They're just surviving.
But
There's a big
Leanne, how do I escape that when society, neighbors, family, friends,
yeah,
everybody
yeah,
around me is all
yeah,
just jumping into their car all at the same time? I've actually seen this in my street. Everybody's
yeah,
waving at each other, jumping into their car at the same time, and then they all meet up and picking up kids, and it's all
yeah,
just the routine. It looks like everyone is in lockstep.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I firmly believe and share with my clients that first we have to stabilize the finances because that's the reason why you're jumping in the car and going to work, right? It's that need for the money. And it's like, let's face it, it's hard these days. It is really hard. But if we can stabilize the money and work out a plan with the money, like I did that for me by reducing the debt by 85%. That allowed me to transition. That allowed me to allow myself to transition. So the first part is looking at the cash flow. There's so much we're not aware of. Having an expert look over your cash flow, your debts, whatever it is for your situation. Like I said at the start, everyone is unique. Everyone is different. But in my business, I was saving people $1,000, $1,500 a month. I saved hundreds of clients, millions of dollars, Prosper. And what happened is after a few years, they came back to me and I thought, what's happening? I don't understand what's happening, because I knew my work was powerful. And I thought initially I could save them this money and then they'd go off and do what their dream was. They were coming to me with their dreams. Leanne, I'm going to save this money and then I'm going to work part-time. And so I'm going to be there part-time with the kids, whatever it was for the client. But you know what happened, Prosper? Can you guess what happened?
Well, they'll just go back into their old ways again. It's just like that. Relapse, so to speak.
So they'd be all excited for the first few months and then they would spend that cash flow that I'd saved them. They would live up to their income again. And in a couple of years' time, they'd come and see me again, because my business was set up at the time that I wasn't able to do that mindset coaching with them as well. And I was frustrated. And I had several clients come and they'd maxed out credit cards again after I'd fixed it 2 years ago.
So all this is
And,
happening in the subconscious then.
yeah, but it took me a while. I started studying it because I got really intrigued and fascinated of what was happening. And so I started to study it and I was like, people revert back to their patterns. And I wasn't getting to the core of the issue by fixing their finances. It was powerful work, but it was like a Band-Aid. I wasn't going through and rewiring the subconscious.
That's the same as giving somebody plastic surgery on their face, but they're still the same in their head. So they will still feel
Totally.
that whatever they experienced before, if that's not finished. Oh wow. So what are some of these subconscious blocks that you see holding back a lot of people? Because some people, like we established, people might not even notice that certain things or certain words or certain mannerisms or certain ways of doing things are what's actually holding them back. Because as we have also established, everybody seems to be doing it. Why not me?
I guess also there's another factor though, Prosper, as well, which is just as powerful, working in combination with the subconscious, is these people were not on purpose, right? So they were lost. And I'd fixed their finances, but they weren't on purpose. So they just continued to count down their hours, go about their day, be on autopilot. The lights were still dimmed, you know? And what I found was the people that were on purpose, that knew with clarity why they were here, why they were born, what they were here to do, who they were here to serve, they didn't have those issues. It was very interesting, very interesting.
But what you're saying is akin to a table with legs. So if maybe the finance leg has been fixed, the purpose one is a bit wobbly, everything tips over the table and you don't have dinner, or dinner ends up on your shirt.
Yes. And I was very much on purpose myself. So I, was so enthusiastic with all of my clients. I'd say, look, we'll fix this up. And then boom, you'll be able to do your Disneyland trip or whatever it was they wanted to do. Then when they came back to me and they weren't doing it, I went through a massive process of learning myself, what is this reflecting back to me? What is actually happening here? I want to solve this. And it was interesting, Prosper, because in the meantime, I had 2 kids at the time, and they started to become absolute superstars in their field. They were completely on purpose. And my eldest son, he's 19, and actually, as we're talking and recording this, he's over in the United States of America competing in the finals of America's Got Talent. And he's
There we go.
19 years
There
old.
we Wow. Proud mom. Proud
Yeah,
mom.
he's on purpose.
But you
He is
started this,
doing,
obviously, all right. You started this 18 years ago. And
mm,
this whole purpose conversation, I don't know, maybe I just started hearing about it recently. Were people listening to you in that sort of way? Do they understand the words that were coming out of your mouth in that
I don't think I even knew what I was doing, Prosper. I think I was just following my intuition. I've always been extremely linked to my intuition.
right?
Um, and you know how you talked about all the noise, all the
Yeah.
people around
Mm.
saying, do this, do this. I really operated differently, and I never really lost my very strong connection with my intuition, which is linked to our purpose, right? So that leads us. So I was led by that more so than the people around me, and just naturally. And then that's how I, brought up the kids, and then they obviously were clicked into it, and I saw it in them. I seem to have this innate ability to see in people like, oh, you should be doing this. So it all just, I didn't even know what was happening. I was just going through my days, and yeah, it just evolved, Prosper. It evolved.
Yeah, but what my question now is the conversations you were having with people, were people getting it? Were people like on board, or were they just going, I don't
No, they
know.
weren't getting it. No,
Yeah,
no.
that's what I thought, you know.
No.
Wow.
Can't make it easy. No.
Wow. Wow. Now you've then gone on and created your Leave Legacy Now program. Maybe tell us a little bit about that and how it actually helps entrepreneurs align their businesses with their high purpose. Because these days, yes, there's so many ways that you could literally make money, but if you're not aligned, you're not gonna last a day
Yeah.
running that business, no matter what it is, because it's just the way it is now.
Yeah. Well, that's right. And I think it came to me, it was actually COVID that was a big turning point. Again, like so many listeners would agree. And as you know, you would have seen a lot of business owners really turn and pivot during COVID. And I do remember clearly that pre COVID, I had $35,000 worth of finance lined up. The bank said yes, verbal yes. I was about to submit it, and COVID happened. And the next day, the bank said, oh, we're not financing that anymore. No way. The next day, Prosper, $35,000. And my intuition says to me, you've got to change, because we don't know what's going to happen. You have to change. You have to go out, do programs, like you've got to go bigger. You need to go international and help people in a more holistic way, like what I was saying had been coming through to me for years in my work and my research and just my questioning of my clients and my observations of my clients, I love to help people. And I realized I wasn't helping them enough because they were coming back after 2 years.
Mm.
So COVID gave me a chance to breathe in my business. My phone stopped ringing off the hook for the first time in many, many years. And I was able to critically think and work out what I wanted to do. And and I knew that I wanted to help entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at the leading edge of business. That's who I love to work with, the established entrepreneurs. They're the ones that are having the ripple effect with many other entrepreneurs, the change makers, the trailblazers. You've got a show full of them. You're an amazing supporter of these entrepreneurs yourself, Prosper.
Well, I'm hoping you'll rub off on me at some point. You know what I mean? If you hang around the barber shop long enough, soon you'll have a haircut. So that's just the
Exactly.
way that cookie actually crumbles. Now, I really love that your work focuses not on the income, because every other person is like, yeah, bring all your money to me and then I will go and sit on a yacht. And everybody else is sitting out there wondering, where are the customers' yachts? If this financial or wealth advisor is also sitting on a yacht. So if that's the whole case, but you focus on legacy. Well, to start off with, you introduced us to your dad and how his way of life sort of influenced you, and the way you became and things of that nature. But then you passed that on to your
Mm,
kids. And like I
mm,
said, congratulations. Your
mm.
son is in the finals. America's Got Talent. That's the highest stage that anybody could
Good.
really think of in his field. Now,
Yeah.
first of all, what does leaving your legacy mean to you? All right. And please don't use all those words. Just what does it mean?
So it's different to everyone as well, is what we've found. But to me, it's living a life well lived, true to me. So I can look back and go, you know what? I did everything that I wanted to do. I overcame my fear and I created Live Legacy Now because it wasn't without fear. It's easier to stay doing the same thing, right? So it's about really knowing yourself on a very deep level and knowing with conviction why you're here. Why were you born? And that's probably a good question for your audience, in fact.
Yeah.
Why were you born?
What is your
What
legacy?
is your purpose in this world? Do you know what it is? I know a lot of people don't. And I struggled with it for a long time. But my purpose is to empower others. And it's bigger than the money, Prosper, like you say. It's bigger than the money. And I empower others by doing it myself. So by leading it by example. And with my son in the USA, a lot of people around me that have watched me for years, they've clicked and they said, you knew that he was going to be a star. And I did, Prosper. I knew he wasn't the average kid just at dance lessons. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I knew this kid was literally born to dance. And I supported him unconditionally with that because I knew that that was his purpose in this world.
Mm.
He moved to Sydney at 17 years old from the Gold Coast, and he went to Brent Street Studios. And I said to him, he's completely self-propelled. He knows exactly what he wants, and he's been like that since 13 years of age.
But that doesn't happen on its own. That nobody would come from a place of no, how do you call it? Like a place of support and a place of
Unconditional
nurturing.
support.
Yes, and
Mm,
the nurturing of knowing that yes, I'm gonna
mm,
go off of it on my own,
mm.
but I still have something. So congratulations on that part. You
Yeah,
see,
I guess like one of my superpowers and my purpose as well is the unconditional support of the entrepreneurs who want to engage in this journey. I see it in them. I can sometimes see it more clearly than they can. And I can extract it and kind of be ahead of them and support, but also I just know what it is. Like if we get that clarity on their purpose, which it's actually my business partner that does the clarity of the purpose exercise. He has nailed it with his own technique. So we get that clarity around who it is at the core of them, their essence. We've all got it. We've all got it. We've been conditioned to believe that we get a job and it doesn't mean we like it. We just have to work for money. I don't believe it's true, Prosper. I don't believe it's true.
you've redefined legacy for me. I'm actually gonna have to cancel the statue that I'd ordered for them to put in the city center there because I thought that was what leaving a legacy is all about. And you've also even gone further, and maybe you've co-authored and authored several books. First of all,
Yeah.
maybe let us know, how do you think writing and publishing has actually amplified the impact that you have as a coach? Because you do seem to have so much to share and so much to give, and I don't think
Mhm.
this frozen time that we've afforded you, 1 hour on the show, is enough for you to actually
Yeah.
disseminate all the information that you've got.
Absolutely. So I have done a few books, and my book that's coming out within the next month, so it'll be out very soon. It's called Legacy Business Builders, believe it or not. and and it is a group of 11 very conscious entrepreneurs who are established, who are on purpose. So they're leaders in their field and they're leaping off into their legacy business. Now, their legacy business is the business that is the essence of them, their purpose in this world. So, for instance, I have one of my authors, Jacene Greenwood. She started out as a nurse way back. And this is a similar story to mine, right? And then she said she wanted to be a beautician. And her first husband said, no, that doesn't work for me. So she didn't have the unconditional support. She started out her cosmetic business on her kitchen sink. She's now a multi-million-dollar business that exports all over the world.
Wow.
She's the fastest growing cosmetic company in Australia Pacific at the moment.
I don't think she's still with that husband.
No, she's not.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's now got an incredible husband who offers her unconditional support.
Mm.
She's completely on purpose. Her purpose is to help people feel better in their skin. And her cosmetic and creams and treatments are all natural, and they're absolutely phenomenal. She's won incredible awards for for her skincare products. So she's one of the authors in the book, and her story is absolutely fascinating. She says that she was at the kitchen sink with a stick blender and they were turning over $1 million. And she thought to herself, she was so on purpose, she was doing it with a stick blender.
Wow.
And she thought to herself, it's probably time that we buy a industrial homogenizer.
I can only imagine. Now, obviously, you've given us two stories of two incredible women, that
Yeah.
have left the cushiness of what you had. A government job, I'm supposing it's a job for life, right? Like
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it
you know what I
was.
mean? Like, what sort of
Yeah.
advice would you give to Sally, who's watching this right now and just thinking to themselves, yeah, but you don't know my bills, you don't know my family, you don't know. That's obviously, as the disclaimer says, every situation is
Yeah.
different. But Sally is just rolling her eyes, going, yeah, maybe it only happens to the likes of Leanne and, the
Yeah.
story that you just told us. So maybe
Yeah.
somebody is going through that, what sort of advice would you maybe give, let's just say, your younger self, knowing where you were and who you were at that particular time,
Mm.
considering leaving your safe government job just to go get started on your own in business?
Yeah. You need other eyes on your situation, trusted advisors that have done the same thing. You don't know what you don't know, Prosper. Okay? There might be hidden money in there. You just don't, she doesn't know how it works. I see that all the time with my finance clients, you know. Um, so that's what I say, definitely, is you don't know what you don't know, go to a trusted advisor. We offer on purpose for profit strategy sessions. And that's about extracting where you are now, like really digging deep into where you are now, extracting where the money can be, how much you need. Everyone needs a different amount, right? That was why I had to do that disclaimer. Some people don't, maybe you won't need as much as what you think. If I rewind to my situation, I was looking at increasing by 3% per annum my income when I was in the government. So that was the big wow every year in the government. You get a 3% pay rise plus maybe some CPI.
But that's just adjusted to inflation, right?
Oh, you get CPI as well, but you get a 3% pay rise, and people used to hang out. The culture was you hang out for that. So I get a 3% pay rise next year. And I remember looking at that going, I can make more in my own business. But it's scary. And I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of fear to transition to my own business. But my belief was I can make more money than that. And do you know what? I did. I made so much more money. And I had my children, and I consciously parent my children, and I was able to have flexibility in my hours, right? And I still made more money working from home a lot of those years, going and seeing my clients. I did have an office for many years as well, but I worked it around my children and the family predominantly. So I would never have believed myself, my younger self, that I could make so much more money in my own business, flexibly, happy because I'm helping people, I'm on purpose, right?
Mm.
Yeah, sometimes I'd work till midnight, like we all do as small business owners.
What's that? What's midnight? Isn't that some hour on the clock? Now, if
And then
somebody wants,
I might have got to a school event of my kid that I wouldn't normally get to, or I would have. It's always a juggling act and a balancing act. But I would have never have believed that back then, Prosper. Like I was just your brain goes to the fear, and it's really about transcending that fear, which we work on that extensively in the Live Legacy Now program. It's about helping people to transcend that fear. Now, the money's linked to that. Money is, we're conditioned to have money as safety in our society, And of course, we need a certain amount of money. Let's face it. We can't just say, oh, well, we're not going to make any money and we're just going to, we can't be silly about it. We'll be strategic about it.
fantastic. Now, if somebody's looking to increase their income, impact, and actually create a legacy in their business, what would be the first thing that you encourage them to do in terms of getting a hold of you?
In getting hold of me, you can reach out to me or via email if you like, Leanne at livelegacynow.com.au. And if you put in the subject prosper, then I'll know that you've heard about me from the Prosper Show, and I can offer you an on purpose, for profit strategy session complimentary. Now, Prosper, we don't offer these outside of our high ticket coaching client offers. So, this is something we don't offer, but we're going to offer it to your audience if they email. And it's a deep dive. It's a life-changing strategy session.
Mm,
It's worth $997, but we don't offer it. So, that's
well,
our offer today for
I,
your.
I appreciate that a lot. And for those that are watching right now, I would definitely jump onto that. And as she has said, just mention the name Prosper in the email,
Prosper.
and she would know where that came from. And I suppose that will be the first step that you will
Yeah.
do in order to actually get started in living a legacy. Now, what I'm really excited about this, Leanne, is you're not one of those over the weekend, just went to some lecture on finance and you figured it
Yeah.
out there. You literally have lived experience. Your first business debt repayment strategy has actually changed your life, and you're showcasing to others that they too can actually alleviate themselves from things like that. And I'm really excited about what you've done and who you've become. And also congratulations on the kids. They obviously, the apple didn't fall that far away.
Thank
Now, looking
you.
ahead, what's next? What are you working on right now that we need to be excited about? Any upcoming
Oh,
projects or incentives?
yeah. Absolutely. So we've got the book getting published shortly, and then we've got retreats planned for 2025. So if you keep an eye on our Facebook page, that's the Live Legacy Now Facebook page, you'll see all our upcoming retreats and events that we've got coming up. And we are creating a movement because we want people to live congruently with their purpose and what they were born to do here and to make money from it. That's the ultimate, right?
Yeah,
That's the ultimate. It is
absolutely.
actually an unconscious belief that we can't do it. I know we can. I've done it. My business partner, Gareth, has done it. We're so passionate about bringing people back to life. Basically, that's what we're doing, bringing entrepreneurs back to life. When you are on purpose, you'll never work another day in your life. You spring out of bed. I don't need an alarm anymore. I spring
Um,
out of bed at 4 a.m. People think I'm nuts.
Well, why wouldn't you? I mean,
Yeah,
if life is that exciting for you and everything is working, and the way that you have created it, and the fact that this is a creation, it's not just something you just step into. It's something that you create along the
yeah,
way, and you
yeah,
have actually road mapped, and you're documenting it for others
yeah.
so that they too can enjoy this. Whoa, who wouldn't want to?
Absolute, yeah, conscious creation,
But
definitely.
but Leanne, do you realize you've actually committed the ultimate sin?
What's that?
You see, you don't mention you're gonna publish a book on the online prosperity show and not pledge to come and launch it with us. So
Oh, I'd love to do that, Prosper, of course.
absolutely. Now I can't wait. Now this is all exciting. I can't thank you enough for the time that we spent. I know obviously today we as a marine biologist you like deep diving, but we just really like, skimming the surface just so we can have
Yeah,
an understanding of, what the next logical step would be. And thank you so much for the offer that people can
sure.
actually send you an email. I'll put all those links in the show notes so that people can actually reach out to you and
Yeah,
yeah, just get their finances in check and actually start purposefully working towards the legacy that each and every one of us needs to be creating.
yeah.
So thank you so much, Leanne.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Prosper. Also, they can reach out on LinkedIn as well. Yeah, we'll put all the links in. That's great. Thank you so much. It's been incredible being on your show. I really resonate with everything that you do, and I'm thanking you for the work that you put in for us entrepreneurs because you are igniting the light in others as well, Prosper, by being you.
I appreciate that, and I'm glad we're recording that because my kids wouldn't believe if I'm going to be telling them any of this. They just think I'm good for taking the trash out. So, thank you so much, Leanne. Fantastic. And there you have it, folks. This has been amazing. If today's episode actually resonated with you, be sure to check out Leanne's program, Leave Legacy Now, and be sure to actually put your hand up so that we can all, wait for a copy of her upcoming book. And as she has
Yep.
promised, she'll be coming back on the Online Prosperity Show to sort of launch this or share it with us. And don't forget that you can actually send her an email so you can have an on purpose for profit strategy session, which she has so graciously offered us. And don't forget to just put in the name, the word prosper in there, just so that she recognizes where you came from. And as always, if you found today's episode valuable as I have, be sure to rewatch it because I know there's a lot that went through in between the stories and the narratives. There was so many golden nuggets that were shared. But if you got all of them, why don't you share this with a friend who is maybe struggling with their finances, not quite sure what to do, and is not living on purpose? It might just be the best gift that you've given them. And of course, while you're at it, subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show for more conversations that will actually help you build a more profitable and enjoyable business. Until next time, bye for now.